I saw a post you posted. It was like things I'm no longer subscribing to or something like that. And electrolytes was one of them. And I'm curious to ask you because there's so many out there. Some have sugar, some don't. There's a couple out there that have 1,000 milligrams of sodium in it. And I'm just like, wait a minute. Typical American diet has in excess of 3,000. This is like the healthy person, sodium. I can only think that consuming so much sodium, no matter how much you need electrolytes, cannot be that good for you. I could be wrong. This is why I'm asking. But like, can you talk me through electrolytes? Yes, no.
So on the electrolyte side is, you're right. The standard American diet tends to be high in sodium if you're eating out a lot. If you're eating at restaurants, whether it's like fast food or not, just sit down restaurants, there's no limit to the salt that they're using. And it tends to be just always high. Even if it's a healthy restaurant, it's just a fact of life that salt makes food taste better. If you're eating a lot of processed foods, even those protein shakes, protein bars sometimes have sodium in them, a lot of sodium in them. So that's where most of our sodium intake comes in if you're eating a lot of processed foods, like packaged foods, and eating out a lot. If you're cooking at home, that's not the concern. We add some salt, but it gets so diluted, you're cooking a larger portion. That's not where the fear is. As an athlete, though, we do lose salt in our sweat. And here's a misconception that a lot of athletes don't know is that even though a lot of brands are trying to market their electrolyte drinks as we have sodium, potassium, magnesium, which are pretty much the three main electrolytes, the only one that we really lose in significant amounts through sweat is sodium.
Yep.
You shouldn't be taking potassium or magnesium to make up what you're losing, right? We get enough in our diets as it is, whether you're an athlete or not. Magnesium could be one of those that can help with other things, but it's not one that you're losing regularly while exercising. So sodium is the main one that we want to focus on. And I do appreciate that brands have different amounts of sodium because everybody's different. And I have seen athletes losing a crazy amount of sodium in their sweat and others that don't really lose that much. And you can see that in two ways. There's heavy sweaters. And I'll give you an example with my husband, right? So my husband's one that he'll go out on a run, 30-minute run, comes back and is sweating for another 30 minutes while he's just sitting down.
Okay.
He looks like he just came back from a pool and he has to sit outside for a long time until he stops sweating. Me, even in the heat that we live, we're in Miami. Yes, it's hot year round, but even in this heat, I can run for 10, 12 minutes before I break a sweat. Like it takes me a while to actually have a drop. Like my hairline will get slightly, wet. And so we have very different needs. I don't need as much hydration as he does. I'm not losing as much. So just in that, there's a different hydration strategy. Within that sweat, or even because of that sweat, I already know that he's losing more sodium than I am. And even for the heavy sweaters, there's people that lose more salt than others, more sodium than others. So we use salt, sodium interchangeably, right? The best way to know would be people that lose a lot of salt know it, because once you stop sweating, that salt becomes like a layer of crust, either in your skin, or you see like the line, maybe like a little line in your skin, or in your shirt, you see like a white line as well, or white patches of that salt, pretty much. So you know that you're losing a lot. Therefore, you need a lot. The tricky part is that there's formulas to estimate how much sodium you need, but they're not perfect, right? It's a lot in sports nutrition is trial and error. And I would say always starting with like a low amount and then just keep pushing to see, on the amount of sodium that you're having, and not like throughout your day, but like, let's say on that drink, to see how you feel better, right? You shouldn't be feeling when you're exercising, or even with the next hour or two, you shouldn't have a headache. You shouldn't feel lightheaded. You shouldn't feel dizzy. You shouldn't feel swollen. We're just talking about that. Sometimes it's happened to me. I go on a short run, my fingers get so swollen that I can't make a fist. You shouldn't be feeling that. If your heart rate is like, just, you take a quick break, maybe a 2-3 minute break, you stop for water, whatnot, and then you start running and your heart rate skyrockets again really quickly. When your heart is speeding up, it's pumping too fast. It's also a sign that you could be dehydrated, right? In those moments, you know that you need more water, and potentially combining it with more sodium. If you have a scale, what I'll recommend athletes to do is weigh yourself before, weigh yourself after, based on how much weight you've lost, which in that period of time, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour that you're running specifically, for example, however much you've lost is of water. So using that, there's formulas to know how many ounces you need to drink. That helps on the hydration side, not on the sodium side. What I recommend now, using technology, I do love technology. I like to try it. And this has been something that's been around for a while already, is Gatorade. I don't know of any other brands out there, so I'll mention Gatorade. It's the only one out there right now where they have these patches that you
Yeah.
stick on the inside of your arm, your forearm, and it collects not just the sweat, but it collects the sodium that you're losing. So through that, it sends the information to an app and it tells you how much sodium you need to be drinking. Whether you're a heavy salt sweater or a low salt sweater. That's all you need to know. If you're a
Got it.
low salt sweater, I don't recommend to add a lot of salt to your drinks because all you need to do probably is just add more salt to your food. That's it. To your
Got it.
dinner, to your lunch, maybe a salty snack instead of adding all these electrolyte drinks. Now, if you're a heavy sweater, heavy salt sweater, you might need that 1,000 milligrams of sodium in a drink is considered high sodium. So you might benefit from doing that or adding one of those to your diet. But again, it's only for the athlete that is running an hour or longer in the heat, losing a lot of sweat, and I would say even checking to see how much sodium you're losing. If you have those white patches, you're a heavy salt sweater, so you might benefit from the higher salt version. And again, it's trial and error. It's just trial and error, just seeing how you feel. You should feel a little boost of energy or more sustained energy during your runs. For
Got it.
most people though, I mean, I see so many people drinking because I've seen the accounts on Instagram, on all these like social media accounts of you should wake up and have a glass of electrolyte, like a water and electrolytes. That everybody should be drinking electrolytes is not true. Most people, if you're exercising less than 30 minutes a day or even an hour, but you're indoors, you don't need that sports drink. You don't need the electrolyte specific beverage. All you need is water and then just a regular meal that will have salt as it is. Because all foods, if they come from the ocean, right? If you're eating seafood or they come from the soil, like most foods that we eat anyway, like from rice to
Yeah.
vegetables to fruits, they have salt in them naturally. Plus what we add in the cooking process. So it's not a nutrient of concern, I'll say. It's not a nutrient of concern. It's only for that heavy salt sweater and then salty sweater, or the athlete that comes into my office, for example, with a lot of like complaining of symptoms. Like I'm running and I feel XYZ. Then we'll look into carbs, we'll look into fluids, we'll look into electrolytes, just trying different things because there's no one size fits all in sports nutrition.
I love that. That was amazing on electrolytes and so much gems there to drop on when to use, when not to use. Closed my mind on a lot of thoughts I've had around electrolytes lately. I hope
It's
for the
just
listener as well.
expensive. Think about it. You're paying $5-6 a bottle for water and salt, which are the two things
That's
that you
on the
need.
cheapest end, by the way.
Yeah.
I know which one is that
Yeah. Yeah.
because I've seen some are like $45 now for like 20 servings and stuff. And